Hey guys, Joy here. Welcome back for season 3. Thanks for coming back to listen. Thanks for still being here. I gotta tell you, it was really hard not doing this over the summer. It was really hard trying to get the ball rolling again, trying to get the motivation, and hearing comments from you guys about the podcast impacting your life in any way. Like even if it's just one episode, makes it completely worth it to us, and it really made us kind of get into gear. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to say we did this over Zoom, and it's just a little glitchier than normal, which bugs me, but I'm gonna let it go. Anyway, thanks for being here, and welcome to season 3. Let's go.
Hi. Haven't seen your faces in so long. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe you moved and I had no idea. It's not that far-fetched, but still, I was surprised.
I did. We needed some waterfalls and rock faces, and it's been amazing. It's actually even better than I thought it would be.
Good. That's the best you can ask for.
Yeah. The production space is still in Jolton and the class is still there. So I go there like at least once a month.
My mom lives in Jolton.
Yeah. Lives now?
Yeah.
No? Oh, cool. Yeah.
She just moved
It's where we lived until we moved here for quite some time.
That's where everybody's going now, I feel like.
To Jolton?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Jolton's cool, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everybody's going to Jolton. We better hurry up and get there because it ain't too big.
Yeah. Not that many spots.
We just actually had our plant folk graduating class there because I have that herbalism program,
Yes.
you know. And we went to Jolton Hardware for our graduation ceremony, and it was perfect. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Jolton's got a lot of gems.
Yeah, it's getting hip.
Well, before we dig in, I was going to inform our listeners, because they care so deeply, that we are changing up the format this season. We're going to try to add in some video to our podcast. Probably not every episode because we're grandmas with technology, but we're going to try to do that with the episodes with my sister. And instead of doing an after the episode after every mom, we want to be able to fit more moms in per season. So we're going to do a mom therapy with Jenny Black probably after every 3 episodes, I think is what we talked about. Anyway, I just want to give everybody a little heads up. So, you know.
Yeah. We wanted to do a check-in and see how everybody's summer was, and then we'll introduce our guest for today. So we'll keep it just a complete mystery.
Yeah, keep them wishing.
How was your summer, Leah? Oops.
Me? Oh,
Got
yes. Okay.
We're not supposed to
We're
know her
on
name
fire
yet.
today, y'all. We are crushing this.
You really are. We're not.
No, this is perfect. The summer has been amazing, and I know this is not going to be popular with most people, but I'm not ready for it to end. I know, all the fault, but the sound of seriously, the sound of the summer bugs in the evenings and the frogs. You know, when you leave the grocery store, this is like my key moment of I love summer. You know, when you leave the grocery store in the winter and you're freezing and you're running to the car and you're trying to get everything in there and you drop stuff and your cold fingers can't even pick it up. But in the summer, you walk out and it's just warm and it's a slow process and you're a little tired. But so, yeah, I'm a summer baby. And so everything about summer, we go to the waterfalls and we go to the creeks and we go on hikes. And yeah, it's been great. It's not been too busy on purpose, trying to enjoy the woods at this age because he's 4, you know, and we're still trying to decide what we're going to do about kindergarten and school. Obviously thinking about homeschooling because, you know, I'm me.
Seems like
Yeah.
that would track with your
Yes, it would track with
your
the-
personality.
Well, funny enough, what would track with our personality, you would think that our kid would enjoy being outside. I mean, we named him Woods. More appropriate would probably be like office space or couch or something. He wants to be inside. When we go outside, he's like, I do not like it out here. I do not like the outside.
Incredible.
It's right. I mean, from day one. And so we lied about how much he likes the outdoors and we got him into forest school. And we hope that would get to experience it with other kids, and maybe these teachers know how to help him and embrace the outdoors. Every day when I go to pick him up, he just looks me in the eyes and he says, I do not like this. I do not want to come back. It's only 2 days a week. We're not torturing him. Nobody write in that I'm something horrible to this child, but we're slowly trying to chip away and try all the things to finally help our child appreciate the outdoors. He loves the trees and he loves birds. He likes to do all of it from the comfort of the indoors through a window.
That's amazing. I grew up like literally in the middle of the woods, and I was similar. Like I just wanted to be inside all the time, like watching TV, watching cartoons, whatever. My parents were super outdoorsy, and now I cannot get outside enough. I'm still a TV person, like I'm not, but I just really, really want to be out in the middle of nowhere. And so for what it's worth, maybe that will flip and he'll appreciate it later.
That means a lot because I'm hoping I don't, like you've got like, say, the people like the hippie parents and they go like super sterile on purpose. They're just like, I can't. So I'm trying not to see them in the total other direction of just despising the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely got a little lawyer mentality to him. Like he can flip a conversation. He can turn. And I mean, I let him do it. I'm like, man, this is a skill, like. So I'm hoping I can at least go for like environmental lawyer.
Yeah,
right.
I was thinking he'll be like, yeah, I love that.
How was your summer?
I didn't prepare my summer. It was good though. We traveled a little bit. I don't know if I'd say chill on purpose, but it was pretty chill. That's not true. It was like we traveled a lot. It felt like what people say, but we visited family. It was all good. It felt like what I pictured a summer to be like with a kid kind of, and that was cool. And we enjoyed it, and it was great. I am not ready for summer to end, but what I prepared my experience last week. So I've really been enjoying the heat. I've liked it a lot, but last week I was just like, oh, this heat's different. Like just really, and Parker kept saying he goes to an outdoor school, or I think we call it farm school, but it's like a nature concept like that. And he's outside all day and it's super hot. And I was like, well, it's just because he's hot. He's outside. Blah, blah, blah. And every day he's like, I'm tired. We're both like, wow, this is really hot. And nobody else was really acting like that. But I thought like, well, it's fine. On Friday morning, the school called and said, yeah, like a fever. I picked him up and then I was like, oh, we're both somehow sick. Anyway, wait, I skipped a part. I went to yoga. And then when I got out of yoga, I had like 16 missed calls from school, from work, like things like the shit hit the fan at work, and then also picking him up from school. And anyway, all at once. And I was like, okay, this is parenting. And then I had to shift like a busy day into him being with me. And I like went to Target and bought like blankets and stuff so he could be like snugly in the back of the car while I was doing stuff at work. And I was like, this is it. And he was adorable all day and really sweet. And then he was completely fine by Friday, but still stayed out of school.
I feel like a badass by the end of the day where you're like, I just did that.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole day I was going like, okay, this is parenting. This is what that is. But it was, I don't know if one of those moments, but I was like, this is kind of a notch on my belt of that thing that you hear about happening, Anyway. So that was my summer.
She got a notch.
Congratulations.
But everything else up to that was like pretty chill and travel and stuff.
Travel. Well, double-edged sword on that one.
Yeah. How was your summer?
Ava just had her 11th birthday. She just started middle school. She's very excited about having her own locker. This is the first year she's had a locker, and the first year she moves from one classroom to another between periods, like instead of being in the same classroom most of the day. So I can tell that's given her a sense of, I don't know, kind of individuality, I guess, or autonomy. I don't know what the right word is.
They're both great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so great.
Coming from you, that means so much. Biggest thing with her right now is I was realizing a couple days ago that almost everything I ask her to do is met with her asking me something that she wants in return if she does the thing that I ask her to do. So it's like a constant negotiation. And it just makes me so mad because I'm like, can you just do the thing I asked you to do without saying anything? And then once you've done the thing, the chances of me saying yes to whatever your request is are probably going to be higher. But if I'm met with like, hey, can you go make your bed? She'll be like, can I just do it before I go to bed? Because I got this thing that whatever. And then I also understand that that's exactly what she's wanting. She wants the same thing. She wants me to do what she's requesting before she does what I've asked her to do. And so it just makes me not want to talk to her.
Wow. Does it feel like you're going into, I have some friends when their children are going into teenage years, that it feels like you're going into a different toddlerhood almost, like
For
Like you're
sure.
saying, like that autonomy, that individuality, but then it's just a different phase in life that you're
Yeah, the pushback.
compared.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
pushback is like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy how Penny can be in the middle of a meltdown. And I know how I would have responded with Ava. But with Penny, I know not to take it personally. But with Ava, everything with her is a trigger for me. And
Yeah.
then I'm just like, when is this going to stop? When am I going to not react this way? And then Penny's potty training.
That's
Or
exciting.
potty learning. What am I supposed to say now?
Body learning.
Ugh.
Oh, there's a new term.
That's been going pretty good. She's kind of initiated on her own. There's definitely been things I've cleaned up all over the floor. But I only do it on the days that I feel like I have the capacity to deal with the accidents. So if I'm not having a day like that, then I'm like, cool, you're gonna have a diaper on all day. And if I am feeling chill, then I'll let her run around naked.
My favorites were, Mom, I pooped. And it's just like, where?
Parker's 4, and I still, every day, it's like, I told you I had to poop. Told ya.
Just go around hunting it. Maybe the britches are a little saggy. You see, I see where. Yes. Or, under the tables. There are always some creative spots.
Yeah. Let's get to know our special guest for episode 1 of season 3. How honored do you feel to be our opener for the season?
I feel the pressure.
I'd say I'm more like 99% more nervous than both of you. Our guest today is a trained clinical level herbalist practicing for over 20 years. She holds a master's degree in counseling and psychology, which enhances her work as an ecotherapist. And she's co-owner of High Garden Tea with her husband, the very handsome Joel. And possibly most of all, a nature-loving tree hugger, conservationist, wife, mother, and daughter. She's been taught by renowned herbal elders as well as Mother Nature herself, finds great purpose in sharing herbalism tradition with those seeking. It's her goal to put plant wisdom and connection back into as many homes as possible and empower mothers to find their deepest knowledge, which is why you're here today. Just kidding. It's about you. That which knows how to tend to their little ones with our herbal allies always nearby. Love that. To truly help others feel more at home when outdoors and how to bring the outdoors into their home. And for me personally, I met you, I think like 15 years ago when you were in social work or going into social work and you had this passion and idea for a store. It was well before like the word wellness had become so ubiquitous and almost like, I mean, it's a good word and a bad word, I think, just depending on where you are. And really, you were a pioneer of that industry in Nashville community. And I don't want to lump you in with just the wellness community because what you do feels elevated and medicinal to me and like deeply rooted and educated in history. You're like a super hot elven woodswoman. And
Like that.
and
T-shirt.
and not because I wanted to be clear that you don't look like an elf, just like I just feel like that vibe of like knowing things and sort of being magic. And I'm
Lord of the Rings
wondering,
elves are pretty hot
yeah, well, yes,
Yeah, they got that glow.
Thanks for saying it. Yes, I think that too.
all day.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the origin point of how you got started, or did you grow up in this world? What happened?
I didn't grow up in this world. And I think that's what's so important is people think that if you're granny's granny and granny didn't do this or that it's like hard to access, and it isn't. I did come from a line of, later on I learned they were called like cunning folk, and my grandmother and mom were, now I know it's called seers. But they were more like in that kind of realm, but they both feared that gift, and kind of shut it off. But herbs weren't really a thing. Like, yeah, my granddad would eat pokeberries and stuff, but none of it was like celebrated as herbalism. It was just life kind of thing. But I mean, I ate the ABC 123 microwaved raviolis with chips, and I did not lead some healthy lifestyle. But my parents were total hippies in some regard. We didn't have much, but we had a lot because we had the land and enjoyed it. But from like 5 years old to about 18, I had what they thought were chronic urinary tract infections. And so, I mean, little girl trying to go to a sleepover, but your bladder starts setting on fire. It feels like, seriously, like a hot match is put to your pee hole. We say urethra, but like, let's call it what it was. And I mean, I just remember having to quit like 6th grade basketball because of the pain. And they would just try to put me on antibiotic, that low dose antibiotic every day and stuff. And just nothing was working. And by the time I was 18, I was like, okay. And I don't know why I knew it, but I just knew it. I needed to find an herbalist. And at the time when I was 18, that was not something that people even It was not the hot term that it is now at
Mhm.
all. And I had to dig deep. And I found a woman, her name's Pipsissewa, and she's indigenous. And she kind of took me under her wing and taught me about like stinging nettle and uva ursi and these plants. And it was the first relief that I'd ever gotten was drinking this tea and these plants.
Wow.
And so what had seemed like a curse was actually a blessing because I didn't have to ask if herbs worked. They just did. And I was obsessed, And from that moment forward, I used plants because in our culture, herbalism, modern Western eclectic herbalism is kind of a form, unfortunately, of consumerism overall. You replace a drug with a plant, or you take this, you use this plant, and a lot of the relationships removed from it, which is unfortunate. And that's kind of where I've shifted today. I call myself an eco herbalist, and we'll probably get to that. But through years and years, I found that just using herbs had a physical benefit, but it actually took having a really unhealthy emotional relationship. I was in a very unhealthy romantic relationship. And I would just, when you drive somewhere and you don't know where you're going, but you're just trying to go somewhere because you're just uncomfortable and unhappy. And then you get to that place and you're like, this isn't where I want to be either,
Mhm.
And I was doing one of those drives. And ultimately, I was just seeking love and to feel accepted. And I was driving, and there was like these 3 trees that really called to me. And I just had to pull over. They were next to the interstate. Again, saying these things are everywhere. And I just sat near them and I just got this moment of like, I love you. I'm here. I'm always here. And it was the first moment of like unconditional, besides my parents are amazing, but just outside, as a human, you're seeking love outside of your parents. It was the first moment I'd felt like unconditional positive regard and love. And it wasn't from a human being. And like my mind just exploded that we have created this self-induced sense of isolation as people. And like we live in our homes, we have our walls, we drive to the grocery store to get our food, we only have relationship with other humans. And there's a reason it feels like a part of us is missing. I call it nature deficit disorder. There's a reason we feel like we don't know what's wrong, but something's off. And it's so new that humans are like this. Like we're missing out on the rest of our community. We're missing out on the conversations in nature. And so that changed who I was as an herbalist. And that herbalist is the one that wanted to open the shop because I was so eager for other people to experience that kind of window opening up of like, whoa, there's a whole other world out here. You don't have to just like wait until you get sick and go to the doctor and do whatever they say, or you don't have to just, if you're feeling sad, take this pill or do this quick robotic thing to feel better. Like you got to like tear that apart. And so I opened the shop and wishing that there was a place like that I could go to, and there wasn't. So and I couldn't have done it without Joel, honestly, because I was working full time as a therapist. And I was like, okay, if we can make like $80 a day and have this place open like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like it could be open a few hours. And he was in a band and a traveling musician. And you know how hard it can be to ask them to stay somewhere, something. And he said it himself, he was like, you know what? That sounds amazing. It's like, let's do this thing, baby. And so it was just the sweetest moment and I'll never forget it. And so that was kind of the beginning of the birth of High Garden, was wanting people to have, because that was always a little seed in there. And when I got to a space in life, and it was once meeting Joel, where I thought I could birth this thing, then I did.
I remember, I guess I met you when Kristen lived above you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's how we crossed paths, because I would go and hang out with her at her house sometimes. And you had that one room that was just shelves and shelves and shelves of jars, all of the herbs. And I was very pregnant, and you gave me some grapeseed oil to put on my hoo-ha post-birth. And you gave me some sitz bath, too.
It sounds like something I'd do.
Do you still keep like a library of stuff at home?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always have an apothecary. But I mean, honestly now, and this is what like I encourage people to learn how to do, is like the outdoors.
Mhm.
Anytime one of us is sick or something, I step outside first and I'm like, who is around right now that could help? It keeps me more fresh on gathering with the season. And like in case I didn't have it in my apothecary, but then I'm always also, if honeysuckle's blooming, then I'm going to tincture it. And then I'm going to have that in my apothecary. If, mullein is growing right now, I'm going to dry it and bring it in. And so if I need mullein, I've got it. So you can build an apothecary for basically for free. It's just, knowing who to gather and when, and having access to a yard, because that can be quite the luxury as well.
Do you have an answer for people or a thought for people who don't have access to a yard? I mean, parks, or what is your response to that?
It depends on what they're seeking. You mean as far as like wild crafting or
Yeah, or
herbalism or?
Because I'm a fan of your Instagram. I guess I'll start there. So like, I watch and you'll be out and you'll say, go out in your yard and grab this, and this is growing right now. And every single time you said that, that stuff is growing in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to get in on that, but they don't have access to that, do you have any thoughts?
Something that I've kind of really focused on for next spring is creating a little guide for creating a balcony garden. And maybe it's not the wild ones in the yard, but if you need to kind of grow your own apothecary kind of thing, you can grow a really successful balcony garden. And even if you're just sitting, it's just people just need to get outside wherever they can. But it's so hard, I know, when you step outside, you feel the bugs, you feel the heat. Like, we're so conditioned to the indoors, but it's so unhealthy. So yeah, everybody's situation looks so different. I can't say just comprehensively what
Sure.
would be the
Yeah,
answer.
this is a terrible question. Forget that question.
Oh, okay. I quit. This is
It's terrible.
no, it's a
Usually
question I
say.
challenge myself with all the time.
Yeah.
Especially even like here, where you're like, oh, here in the South, there are people that don't have access. Try looking at like New York City or something, like, because they can go to Central Park if they can get to Central Park. Anyway, blah, blah. Yeah, I think about it a lot.
Yeah. Green spaces in general. Yeah. It makes me think how important that stuff is. Don't think about it a ton.
People they do not have access. And that's an issue, especially with our country, because everyone could. It's development that's taking out so much access. Like in Japan in the early 80s, they noticed during the tech boom that, the city's growing, the wild space is diminishing. They noticed that the people were getting very unhealthy. Depression, anxiety, stress, true illness was just on this rise. And they were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, Japan being Japan, they actually called it a nature deficit disorder. And they started protecting green spaces and forested canopy. And at that point, doctors began prescribing forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they saw the correlation between a need of government protected, easy to access green spaces and the health of the people. So all that I can say is it would be amazing if our country and our leaders and our local government and everything in each space could see how important it was for every community to have access to a green space.
Yeah.
Do with that what you want.
Yeah. Let's get on that.
Just tell them. Yeah. Let's tell them.
Yeah. Tell them. Yeah. Go tell them.
Hey, Momcult listeners, did you know that it is about to be peak car wash season when the weather is fabulous and it makes you want to go for a drive, maybe with the whole family, maybe not. But either way, we've actually gone a couple times as a family, and Ava helps us clean the car, and it's actually a pretty fun activity to do together. So if you've got some older kiddos, for a limited time, you can get a Best Wash, which is a $25 value, free. Just text Momcult to 30400. That's one word to 30400 and get a code for a free $25 car wash texted to your phone. And visit camelexpress.com to find your camel today. Did you always want to be a mom?
Oh, yeah. Sort of. Okay, I started out, my first degree was elementary school teacher because I thought I loved kids. And then I did my student teaching in first grade, and I was like, well, that's not for me. They're cute, but in large doses, it just was not. And so I went on to middle school, and believe it or not, I like the middle schoolers. I did want to be a mom. I always thought I would be a mom, and it was really hard for me to become a mom. And that's why I had my child when I was 39. I had endometriosis and tons of scar tissue build, and I went to fertility clinics, and I looked great, which is interesting. They blamed it on my poor husband, but he didn't actually take any tests. It was just all very confusing. We didn't do a ton of it. It was like, this feels odd. And we just let it go. And I slowly convinced myself that I didn't want to be a mom. That I could mother other things, and you can, but that's really hard space when you want to have a child and can't. Every Mother's Day that rolls around is kind of heartbreaking, you know, and it was really difficult. And it was 2018. It was New Year's Eve and it hit me like a brick wall. And it was like, well, if you want to have a baby, it's this year, do you? And it's just this came through and I was like, whoa. And I asked my husband, he was like, I don't know. And we still both kind of convinced ourselves, we're like, well, I don't know, you know. And and lo and behold, I ended up having to have a quick like a surgery because I got into a pretty bad health state that the endometriosis was squeezing off some tissues and things. And unexpectedly, didn't even think about it. A month after that surgery, I got pregnant. And so it was right. And it was so hard for me the whole pregnancy to attach the idea because I was so scared the whole time that I would lose it. You know, it was wild. It took me probably until he was 6 weeks old to really finally realize like you're here. So it was a long journey for me to get there for sure.
Did you have him just bare naked out in the woods?
That was my plan. It was so much, dude. Children are humbling. You know, I was like, I'm going to, home birth, this beautiful experience. I had an emergency C-section, you know?
Welcome to motherhood, bitch.
Right, right. And I was like, okay, you go back, I went back into the shop and everybody was ready to hear my beautiful birth story. And I was like, yeah, it was a knife and anesthesia. There you go. But that stuff's good for you, like it really is. And it wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't in and itself. They were able to save this baby that my hips weren't spread. My body was just like, I don't know about this. And it maybe could have worked through, who knows? But I just feel really grateful that that was able to happen. And I had a beautiful baby boy.
When you said that you heard something on New Year's and then like whenever the trees were talking to you when you saw those 3 trees, what is it? Is that something to do with being a seer? What does that mean? Is that like being psychic? Are you a seer too? We can cut this if you don't want to talk about that.
Oh, I don't care. I mean, we all have it.
No, I think I have it too. That's why I'm asking. I'd like to get some.
Well, the fact of the matter is, and it's true. I mean, I think woo-woo gets kind of like thrown around a lot. And that was thanks to Rockefeller through the early 1900s trying to shut down people being able to be their own advocate and healers. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But there's a head brain, a heart brain, and a gut brain. Truly is. Head brain, the thought, everybody knows what the head brain does. The heart brain is electromagnetic energy. It's real. Everyone has different frequencies, electromagnetic energy. You can read other energies. It travels up to about 10 feet outside of your body. The gut brain, now science is beginning to confirm there is a gut brain or neurotransmitters. Like your gut is responsible for knowing and responsible for a lot of action in the body, making decisions. And so the head brain thinks, and the head brain has almost put our other brains into atrophy because it's taking so much energy, so much attention to the point that when the heart brain is like the feeling when you get near someone and you can feel their energy of sorts. It is electromagnetic energy. That's not a woo-woo thing. It's a real thing. When you step into the woods and you feel the presence of the trees and the vibration of the trees, it's an actual thing that can be measured. And so that part of us is alive and aware. And then the gut brain was that instinctual knowledge back in the day of like maybe a bear was behind you or, like that instinctual deep knowledge. But now it's kind of a little bit more of like, you're thinking about someone and you kind of feel like you need to call them and the next thing, they call you. Like that deeper knowing. So those brains actively work and they know things that the head brain does not know. But our head brain has become so power hungry that it convinces us that the other brains don't know. And so, when you'll get a feeling or you'll get a thought or something, your head brain will almost take over and be like, hush,
you out of it.
Whatever. Yeah, it'll talk you out of it. And so the more that you do kind of tear the walls down and become aware of all your different awarenesses in the body, then those awarenesses can become more real and less of like an afterthought or a dream kind of thing. And so I think it's just where I've torn down some walls and allowed some energy back into my head, my heart and gut brain.
Well, we have so much effortless access to all information at all times. So our brain is constantly on overdrive.
Yes. Over. And if it's not information, it's just distraction and stimuli and absolutely just stuff that's keeping this brain just going. And to the point that when someone does step into the woods or they do step into a moment where they can sink into their body they don't know what to do. You almost get bored and you're like, need
Mhm.
something for your brain to do. You need something because this one is, again, so just like it's full of so much energy and needs so much attention that you go into the woods or you step into your yard and like, I don't know what to do here.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's another part where forest bathing is really wonderful because it's a sensory experience. So it gives your head brain something to do, but it doesn't allow it to take over because it puts the rest of the awareness into your body. And herbalism is also a head brain thing, but it also really relies on a lot of gut and heart too.
Forest bathing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
We're-
do that.
Yeah, I do too.
Mm.
Yeah. Right. As soon as we get off here, I'm going to get on Redfin. You know Redfin, where you look
It-
for land. I'm just gonna
Oh,
get on Redfin and really dig in.
Redfin, what is that?
It's like a land. It's like Zillow, but they have houses too, but it's more for land or more rural stuff.
Whoa, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's good. Andrea
Okay,
told me about that. Shout out, Andrea.
She would.
very cool.
You and Joel working together, owning the shop together, raising a family together. Do you ever want your own space? Like, are you ever just like, I need to be alone? You've always given up the vibe of being connected, staying connected in community. Are you ever just like, everyone get out of my face?
Redfin, what is that?
It's like a land. It's like Zillow, but they have houses too, but it's more for land or more rural stuff.
Whoa, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's good. Andrea
Okay,
told me about that. Shout out, Andrea.
She would.
very cool.
With I don't know, you and Joel working together, owning the shop together, raising a family together. Do you ever want your own space? Like, are you ever just like, I need to be alone? You've always given up the vibe of being connected, staying connected in community. Are you ever just like, everyone get out of my face?
Yeah, I think we all are. I call myself like an extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert. I'm not sure which one I am. Like, I crave community and like rooted and unrooted, obviously. And but then I need to go and like recharge alone. And Joel's a little bit of a battery charger for me though. He's my person. And I'm glad we met, when we did. We both went through a lot of mistakes and unhealthy relationships and stuff to know that we got each other at the right time. But yeah, he's actually really amazing. He is. I can't even come up with something. I think that's where the challenge of motherhood though has come in. Like my child's incredible too, but you don't get that moment to recharge. That
Right.
just isn't. You go, you give everything, you do this, you do that, and you go home and you play Paw Patrol. Or you know what I mean? Until it's in my kid. I mean, he comes alive at 9 o'clock. I have to basically I go to sleep with him. I do all the things you're not supposed to do, just so like I lay down in bed with him and I hold him tight and I'll do whatever it takes to get him to sleep. He's never liked sleep. That's just, he fights it with everything he has. And so by the time I'm actually in my bed or in my moment to do whatever I want, it's about 10:30 and I'm tired. And I take my tincture, drink my tea, and I pass out. That's what I do.
What's your
So, yeah,
tincture?
tincture depends on the day. It's always Vitex berry. Otherwise, I'm like our balance tincture. Well, what is a tincture?
No. What is your
What
tincture?
is your tincture?
Yeah.
Oh, because I need a lot, like everybody's would be different. I need a lot of hormonal support, like keeping my hormones balanced. Otherwise, I am crazy before my period. Like if you saw me before I found Vitex a week before my period, you would think I'd lost it. And so our balance tincture I created that one for me. And then I found out that like other people might need it too. So that's the one I take every night for basically the rest of my life. And it will be in my cold dead hand. Um, and then right now I've got like a rash, a little bit of a rash, an irritative spot. And that's telling me I need like a lymphatic tonic. So I'm drinking herbal tonic tea. I always
Just whatever's
work
laying around.
whatever my body's telling me. Like symptoms are our signals that our body, like symptoms are so helpful actually. Like modern medicine oftentimes is like you mask symptoms, but symptoms are your body being like, hey, you might want to look over here. They're super helpful. So if I see a rash or I see something, then I correlate that to the organ or the system that needs support. And that's just the herb that I pick at that time. So yeah, that's what I do. And if I don't have anything in particular other than my balance, man, I always go wildly healthy or woodland roast. I just like that cozy cup of just something at night. If it can't be a glass of wine, then it's a big at 10:30. It's just pointless, right? It's like whatever.
I'm just trying to steal your woodfolk class little by little on this podcast. But you teach workshops for people to learn these things, though, right? Is it called woodfolk?
It's going to be from now on. I love that name. It's plant folk right now. But woodfolk is coming up.
Plant folk. Okay.
It's a 5-month herbalism program. Yeah. Cool. Helping people learn herbalism. It's 1 weekend a month for 5 months, April through August. And it's been incredible. I have like 150 people apply. It's insane. All these people want to learn herbalism, which is dope. But it's unfortunate that I can't teach 150 people, physically at all. And online just isn't the same for me. I like that in person, walk around the field, get the feel for it. Because honestly, when we moved to Chattanooga, I don't know how this story will fly, but whatever. I was looking for a pediatrician for Woods. And Woods, when he was a baby, 2 weeks old, it was right after his first round. We did do a round of vaccinations, the first round. And very shortly after, about 2 days after, he started having seizures. And it was abnormal. They didn't fit in particular to anything. It wasn't in the exact time frame to correlate it exactly to the vaccine, this and that. But I had enough awareness to know that everything doesn't fit in a white or a black box. There's a lot of gray in between. And so his pediatrician worked with me. She's wonderful. And we did kind of a delayed and pick and choose kind of vaccination kind of thing. And I know everyone has opinions on this and they can be very strong, but I try to stay in the middle and not isolate anyone on that. But when I moved to Chattanooga, the first question, well, when you would call a pediatrician, they'd be like, what's the name? And then they would ask his vaccination status. And they're like, is he fully vaccinated, up to date? I'll be like, no, he's on delay. And they were like, well, you have to be 100% compliant and he has to get all vaccines up to date immediately upon, or, you have to be 100% compliant with all vaccines or we will not see him. And so that was just shocking to me that if I'm not 100% compliant with anything in life, like nothing, much less whatever you tell me to do to my child, I have to be 100% compliant with it or you're going to refuse medical care. Like what the F, And so that just really didn't sit well with me. And I had to take a moment with it. But I had the opportunity to take a moment with it because I'm so well equipped with herbs. We don't even go to the doctor ever, like Woods has a cold, I know what to do. Woods has this, I know what to do. Like I have all these herbs. I have years under my belt of working that I had a moment to breathe and think about stuff. And I thought about that mom that doesn't have she doesn't have the herbs and they'll be like, okay, well, if he's got bronchitis, I know to do this. If he's got, blah, 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 blah. And it was heartbreaking to me at that moment of like, wow, like, I don't know how to get moms and dads, of course, how to get this knowledge into their hands, not to like not go to the doctor if you need to, but to just have options and have choices and have some empowerment that seems to really be taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So that really kind of boiled my blood a little bit. I don't know why I even got onto that.
I think it was about, or what I took it as was like the plant folk classes, bringing that to more people and empowering them. And maybe I don't think but yeah.
That's where it came from. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to find a way to, and then even now, like I go to the doctor. We do. Please do not take away from this podcast that I'm like pushing down modern medicine. but I go to the doctor for a medical opinion because I feel empowered. If I'm like, oh, thank you for this test or this diagnosis and your medical opinion of what medication would go good with that. I'm also going to sit back and think about what I know about the systems and about the herbs that might be a good choice to try before that. Just, I don't know. I feel very empowered when in life and not like, oh, if you go to the doctor, you got to take this. So some people like dread going to the doctor because they'll have to do this thing that they don't want to do. And I can't even imagine being in that state anymore. And it's not a normal state to be in. Like, this is very new for humans to not know how to take care of themselves. A lot of it is more in American culture because people came here, and the people that came here weren't herbalists. The people were coming here were people were like, well, if you were so good at herbs, why were people dying when they first came to America? It was people like escaping. Like, the true herbalists and the true healers had been taken with the lords, and they'd already been taken with the royalty and the wealthy. But the people came here and they didn't know the plants. These were brand new plants at their feet, and the indigenous folk that did know the plants here, I mean, some of the knowledge was stolen from them, and they were pushed away to the plants that they didn't know, clear across the country if they made it. And then herbalism at that point was smashed. And then Rockefeller, trying to create the American Medical Association, he did smear campaigns and then took over medical schools and did everything that he could to smash, and succeeded in smashing alternative care at the moment. That was mainstream care. And so it's very new. We in American culture, we think that this is normal, that it's a pill for an ill, right? That is, if you, like my friend just went to France for a bit and she went into a pharmacy for a cough and they gave her ground ivy. It's just meds and herbs are just in a lot of other countries, most of the countries are just like, they go side by side. And traditional Chinese medicine, or in Chinese medicine now, they receive cancer therapy along with Fuzhong therapy. So they receive modern care, but alongside of it, they receive these herbs that keep their body from breaking down. And so in most other cultures, it's herbs and modern medicine go side by side, except here. And so that's what I'm really hopeful for. And I teach doctors, endocrinologists, nurses, nurse practitioners. Like, there are a lot of people in modern medicine that are in my program that are eager to learn these things. Granted, if they recommend something, they are very much probably going to lose their board.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. I can't even go there, but a lot of them are trying to find ways around that. But that's my hope in this culture, is that we learn how to put the two back together, because people are sick, man, and feeling really hopeless about it. And herbs and herbalism and other therapies and modalities can be really helpful.
Well, hey guys, it's 10 o'clock at night for me right now, and I honestly forgot I had to do this, and I didn't want to, really, but then I decided, you know what, the only people I would be willing to do that for is Mr. Aaron's Goods. I don't know if you guys care about pasta. If you don't, you definitely should. It's so tasty, it's so affordable, it's good people. They are now open for new expanded hours with walk-ins for fresh bagels and schmears. You can grab your fresh pasta, your sauces, your other specialty goods in the grab-and-go cooler Tuesday through Friday 9 to 2 and Saturdays 9 to noon, or when they sell out, and they probably will. If you want specific bagels or cuts of pasta, you can always order online for pickup at MrAaronsGoods.com. And you, Momcult member, for a limited time, can get 20% off your entire purchase. Just use code MOMCULT at checkout on MrAaronsGoods.com. They are located at TKO in East Nashville.
Yeah, you've given me a lot to think about. I'm just kidding. I think about this a lot, and we see somebody who does like a I don't know, alternative, but with Western care, and I know that that's limited. So I feel the same way, and I think that's incredible that you're bringing it to more people. I love it.
And it takes the person wanting to do it, because you can learn herbalism or you can learn these things. It's just like doing it, because it can be overwhelming too. And so that's a personal challenge for myself, is trying to figure out a way to like slowly slip it back into homes so that it isn't overwhelming and creeps back in.
Well, shifting gears, but is there anything you wish that someone would have told you before you had kids about being a mom?
It's like, you don't ever know if you're getting it right. Like, it's really, I really like to do a good job when I do stuff, and I try my best. And mom guilt and doubt is so real. Like, I don't care what it is that I'm doing. Like, this little voice in the back of my head's like, but you could be doing this instead, or you could be doing this different. Or like every word I say, I don't know if it's the psychology degree in me or just being a mom. Every word I say, I'm like, there's this thing in the background being like, that's going to be echoing in his head when he's 20. Like every word you say is so just like, you got to get rid of that perfectionist for sure. And I don't even know that that's advice. I think you just got to live it. Had anybody ever told you something to prepare you?
Oh,
Not anything useful.
Right?
I think people were really flowery. I really liked that Joy was really honest about things before I had a kid. She was really honest about how hard it was. And I think more and more people are doing that. That's part of why we do this. Talking about it's hard, but also beautiful, those realities. Because for so long it was like you just, delude yourself into it's exclusively this rosy picture, even though people knew it wasn't. And I don't mean to blanket statement everybody, but yeah, anyway, I think just being honest about that there's no cookie cutter mold. Everything looks different and every day's up and down and finding the beauty in that, but also knowing that it's okay to talk about the difficult stuff. But I don't know that. I think you exemplified that versus just telling me that. But
yeah, what pisses you off the most?
It'd be myself. It's that when I am playing with woods, and I've been playing with them for about an hour, like I am thinking of 1,000 other things I kind of want to be doing instead. But then when I'm doing those things and I see him over there playing by himself and being all cute or hearing those chuckles or something, I just want to like go running back to him. It's like, make up your damn mind, woman. What do you want?
I can't win.
But why does that happen?
Yeah. And the fact that we are all consumed with them in a lot of ways, like it's for their livelihood, for their life. You have to be like so on point with them. And if we do a good job, that means they're going to like leave us and just leave us in the dust.
And be fine.
What?
They'll be fine and like say hi and like, I love you, but like be completely fine without us.
If we did a good job. Yes, exactly. So that's something that pisses me off right there. It's like, I could make him super needy, but that's not doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any funny stories or one that sticks out, like a recent funny story?
Oh, you're going to have to give me a second on this one.
No.
I mean, it's funny to other people, probably not. You know how when you think you have this funny story about your kid and then you tell people and they're just like, yeah, that's cute. I'm thinking of all those right now and y'all be like, great, thanks for sharing.
Thank you. We're gonna cut that out.
Yeah, he said aminal. That's adorable.
Heard it
like
before.
Stories.
Yes.
Animals.
Yeah, he's just a funny kid, but aren't all kids funny? Like kids are just freaking hilarious. They're so raw. And
I was telling Jeremy, I was like, Penny will be 3 in December, and she's just at that age where she has no inner thought. Every single thought she has, she says out loud.
Yes.
The other night, she had like coughed really hard, and so she like dry heaved, like spit up on my chest, and so I went to go change her, and I took my shirt off, and it was dark. But I didn't have a bra on, just took my shirt off because it was gross and then turned the light on to change her. And she looked at my nipples for a while. And then she just goes, you need to go to the doctor.
Oh my God. Yeah,
they made me laugh so hard.
No, Woods is, he's a thinker. He's a thinker to the point. It's just like, wow, kid. It's not funny, but it's just his personality. Because he, again, does not want to go to school. And seriously, y'all, it's like 2 days a week for 3 hours. When I say school, it's from 9 to noon, for God's sakes. 2 days a week to play outside, okay? And he was just, adamant. He did not want to go. And I was like, well, okay, let's talk about it. What is it that maybe that you're not enjoying? And maybe we could, think about some alternatives. Just let's talk about it. And I said, what is it that you don't, and I know you're not supposed to or whatever, but I'm just curious, like, what is it that you don't enjoy? What is sticking in your mind right now? And he sat there for a second, and I swear he sized me up. He analyzed what would work. And I thought he was just like zoning out and going to be talking about Bambi after that or something, He said, It takes too long to get back home to you, Mama.
Oh, what a
Oh.
weasel.
That's my son. And it almost works, y'all.
Yeah, I think you're doing great to have him in, only 3 hours a day, twice a week. That's pretty cool. Parker's in school 8 to 3, 5 days a week. And I don't know that he even he acts like he likes it, but I don't know if it's just his spirit's broken at this point. He just goes every day. He's like, I know I'm going. I don't even fight it.
Well, I've kind of questioned my tactics here because my son doesn't like the outdoors. I've put him in an outdoor school thinking, oh, it'll help him like the outdoors more. But I'm wondering okay, if someone doesn't like snakes, you throw them in a snake pit for 3 hours a week.
That is a
and
method.
They like it better. That's a method, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I put him in a different school, he'd like it better, but I ain't giving in yet.
I can't say for sure, but I think he'll be grateful later.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be
We're
grateful.
We're
That's
gonna
a good
tell
mom
ourselves
statement.
that.
You'll thank me later.
That's what you need to tell him. Just tell him. Let me tell you what you need to do. That's what you're not supposed to say. Well, at this point, we normally do a pop culture segment, and you offered some options of. Or did you have any more things before I jump into that?
You asked about the things that moms could do going into winter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Keep us
Yeah,
on. Thank you.
I'd love to offer that.
Yeah.
So elderberry is very popular. Elderberry is great. Elderberry syrup's very expensive and extremely easy to make.
Mm.
So you could just order a pound of elderberries from local farm, try to go local as possible. But then also if you can't find it, Mountain Rose Herbs or Pacific Botanicals or something. And all you do is you put water over them. Let's say a pound of elderberries to, fill it double over, however high the elderberries come in the pot, fill the water double over that. And then you simmer it until the water goes half its point. So then it's went down halfway, so a concentrate. And then you take that off, strain it, and add a ton of honey to it. Congratulations, you made elderberry syrup. You can preserve it with some brandy, or some people just, you can add a little bit. You could have soaked some elderberries in some brandy to make that brandy more potent. But elderberry syrup, there's so many recipes, and it is so easy to make. And because the amount that you need can get so freaking expensive, you're trying to buy a $20 bottle every month. And it's like a tablespoon a day. It's a heck of an amount. And that's great for when there's sickness going around school. But by the time illness is in your home, elderberry isn't much strong enough anymore. I think that's where elderberry is really great when someone else is sick. Once you're sick, you can continue to take it, but it's not enough.
How long does that last in the fridge? Or do you use it stay out?
All winter long, you're fine. Keep it in the fridge, you're fine, especially if you preserved with brandy.
Okay.
Or you could do an ounce instead of doing the whole pound, just depending on how much. It's just about boiling it down half point. Or you can make an oxymel out of it and drink little bubbly sodas, and you can just look up what an oxymel is. It's half apple cider vinegar, half honey over the herb. Super simple, but there's just a lot of different ways to make your own elderberry preparations, and that is always use dried elderberries. Don't typically work with fresh elderberries unless you're boiling them. But that's leading into before you're sick. And then once you're sick, echinacea is the cool kid in school, so I didn't want to love it, but echinacea is amazing. It stimulates your immune system, macrophage activity. Just so much of the immune system that it really kicks stuff into gear. And so if you did have an echinacea tea or a tincture, an example would be our immune boost tincture, but you need something that's heavily immune boosting at that point once you're ill. And then you symptom chase. That's where I think a lot of people feel like they're doing something wrong, is if they're just oh, you got a sore throat today. We gargle with a sage tea with a little bit of salt and clove in it. Oh, now you've got a cough. Get in your kitchen cabinet and make a tea out of thyme and some peppermint to be an expectorant. Oh, now you're trying to work up a fever. Fever's a good thing. I want moms to know that fever's a good thing. 102 to 104 is a good acting fever. Don't fear that. That's our body's number one response and ability to fight an illness. But you want to help it warm up while you're chilling. Your body has a new set point. And so your body now wants to be 102 degrees, but it's 98 degrees. You're going to be cold until you reach 102 degrees because it thinks it's too cold. So you want to warm up with warm beverages, warm blankets, ginger tea. And so you're just constantly, and then if there's congested sinuses, doing a sinus steam to keep the mucus moving. You just like put some oregano or rosemary in hot water and breathe in that steam. If it's your kid, breathe it in a cup and just let them zone out to them show while you're wafting the steam in their face, getting mucus moving. But just constantly symptom chasing is a way to not only soothe, but also not allow secondary infection to build up. Because through a whole virus, that's all you're doing is kind of battling secondary infection. And so I don't know, there's a lot to that. And that's kind of kitchen cabinet herbalism and just like what to reach for and when. And it's normal. I also want to remind people it is normal for a virus to go 10 days. So you think you're like doing something wrong if they've been sick for 7 days. Our culture has turned everything so freaking fast paced. If you aren't better by day 2, or you see herbalists being like, I did this and I was better after 3 days. I'm sorry, but that is no public service. That's just making people have false expectations. Our bodies take time to heal and get better. And so if you're still feeling sick after 7 days, that's probably okay. It's just if like it stays in one region, like your sinuses are really sore and they're getting more sore and it's getting worse. And now the mucus went from white to yellow to a little bit blood streaked. Okay, at this point, we're maybe looking at a sinus infection. But if it's
Right.
like it's in the sinuses, then it's in the chest, then it's in the throat, and now my body aches, and it's just kind of shifting around the body, that's so normal. And to just have patience with your body and support it while it's getting better, because every time you take antibiotics, you're stripping your immune system and you're just more exposed for the next time. And antibiotics are great when you need them, but they've become a little bit too quick of a grab and people are
Right.
getting sicker because of it. And then just that whole expecting to be better after 3 to 5 days. No, take that pressure off yourself and your child. Um, and then our T's are, that is part of our goal, is like, if you don't know what to grab, then we do have immune boost, get well, like the porcupine for the sore throat, breathe for if there's the lungs. And that's where I made the winter wellness kit of like, just here you go. Here's all the symptom chasing in a bag, that kind of thing, until you kind of learn your own kitchen cabinet herbalism. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to mention, like, be patient with yourself and know that illness, sometimes you can go into like, you've been sick for 7 days and then the kid brings home something else and you're sick another 10 days and you're sick. And that's just normal when these children are going out and being exposed to a billion different bacteria and viruses and germs daily, yeah, I don't know. Do with that what you may.
That was all super helpful. Even just like the chasing after the symptoms can seem overwhelming, or like you're not doing it right, or you're making it worse. And to know that, like, no, that can also be a good sign, that it's not just sticking in one place for a long time, but that
Great sign.
you have kind of solved that issue there. And so now it's trying to go survive it in a different part of the body.
Absolutely. I mean, when I'm symptom chasing, I know I'm doing good. If it's not just sticking in that region, awesome. And yes, it's your body still continuing to fight this virus, and the virus hasn't given up yet. But if you're symptom chasing, you're not letting it sit down somewhere and cause a secondary infection. So you're doing great and you're providing relief. And OTCs, just be careful with them.
What is that?
Over the counter.
Like Mucinex
okay.
or whatever.
It's funny because as herbalists, we get really slapped on the hand for practicing medicine without a medical license. Yet they put some extremely strong meds on a shelf for people that have not been trained in working with all these extremely strong meds with side effects, that different things like, okay, recently I had a friend who her child has allergies and she had really drippy sinuses. And so she went and she got her 2 kind of OTCs, over the counters, of allergy medications. And then she's like, oh, I think we're going to have to hurry up and do this and that. Her mucus has gotten so thick that she's gagging on it. And now she can't sleep at night because it's getting. What do you think that allergy medications do to mucus? They make your mucous membranes dry. They can thicken mucus. So by taking those allergy medications, she made this mucus so thick that her child was throwing up. But just all of them have active powers, and just knowing, being well educated, if you do use an over-the-counter remedy, know that it's doing something very strong to you, and that rebound effect or something may have a consequence. And I will say that's pretty cool where herbs come in. People get frustrated that they're not as strong. That's not a bad thing. because they work with your body. So like an antihistamine herb will only dry you up so much. If your body still needs to expel that mucus, it's not going to get in the way of it, you know? And so what is seen as weakness is actually more speaking to its balance within the body.
Well, I was going to skip pop culture corner really and talk about drone bees, but you guys just Google drone bees.
Robot bees, don't get me started. By Walmart. Yeah, Walmart's and a lot of really rich investors are investing in robot bees. They began in 2017 and they're spinning it. I just want people to be aware of like greenwashing and eco spins. They're spinning as it would help the bee populations. Okay. So once they make these pollinating bees, then you think these big money interests are actually going to worry about the health of the bees, or are they going to be interested to see a lot of the pollinators die off so that you have to rent and purchase bees for big agriculture? Anyway, don't get me started on that. I will sound like a total psychopath.
No, but that's terrifying. I don't like that at all.
Right? People are
Yeah.
like, oh, they're making it to try to help the bees. And it's like, oh, okay. Is that,
When does
they
that
can be
ever
investing
happen?
billions in actually saving the bees and not making robot bees in there
Yeah.
to help the bees. So no, thank you.
Did you ever see Richie Rich, the movie? Richie Rich?
I did not.
I think he had a robot bee. That's irrelevant for anybody.
Right.
Or was it foreshadowing?
Yeah. Well, we can let you go, or if you have like 2 minutes. Do you have like two minutes? I wanted to ask for moms, like when I was pregnant, I was so scared to take anything. And I really just honestly didn't have the energy to ask people what was okay to take. And I know that probably, I don't know. Is there some resource? Are you the resource looking at for moms who are pregnant and want to take stuff for their symptoms? And do you recommend things, or I don't even know how to ask it because I feel like it's a dicey thing. So if you don't want to answer that, it's fine,
Oh, I'm perfectly comfortable answering it and saying that it's dicey. Reason being, there's very little research on actual herbs and pregnancy because I'm not sure who's going to volunteer for that study. Let's see if this herb is okay. So most of it is, if you're looking at study-based, is theoretical data. And in science, what they do is, God bless, you got me going down a trail again. Y'all got to do some editing. In science, what they do is they isolate to prove, in essence. So you'll take an herb and you'll isolate one constituent, like basically looking at a human and being like, what's the active ingredient? Woman, estrogen. And so that's like taking estrogen and then concentrating it and putting it into something and seeing how it acts on that thing and being like, that's what a woman would do to that thing. It's very kind of like, isolating one thing and calling it the whole thing is not the same thing. So that's what a lot of studies are, is based on theoretical of this one constituent given to a pregnant woman would be too strong, can't have it. The other thing that we have is traditional use. And this is beautiful, but we're talking like thousands of years of this herb being used for pregnancy. And there's limited to that because of limited text, but that's where you get like your red raspberry leaf, your stinging nettle, the things that have been celebrated for centuries through pregnancy. That's the only things that we can call pregnancy safe. Anything else would get in a lot of trouble calling pregnancy safe, because what if it's not? Are a bajillion herbs that aren't considered pregnancy safe something that I would consume? Absolutely. It's just, but I can't tell someone else to do that.
Yeah.
Or I'd be myself in a very dangerous situation. Yeah, that's a tough one. But also in pregnancy, I see what I would tell women that would be more maybe risky or just not the best would be like, I'm pregnant. I'm going to start doing all these supplements and all these things to get healthy now. That's what you don't do. You don't start introducing a lot of new herbs and a lot of new stuff into your system to like boost your health, because you don't know how you're going to react to those things. That's kind of where I think I'm like, slow up. But if someone has a horrible cough and they're so sick, some mullein tea. Yeah, I drink mullein tea, but you're not going to like chug the same tea for a month straight and then a different one. It's just about quantity. And think about caffeine. Some women feel comfortable with it during pregnancy and some don't. So it's just starting to listen to your own intuition during those years, because boy, you're going to be needing it.
Yeah. Heart, brain, gut, brain. Brain.
All the brains.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just use all your brains, ladies.
All your brains. That's the takeaway from today.
Leah, I want to be sure to give your Instagram handle before we go, because it's like an insane resource for all of this stuff and all this. I mean, what you've shared probably, and then more, so many more things. So what is that handle?
At High Garden Tea.
High Garden Tea.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Well, that's, on there, what my effort is, what that is behind there is basically I don't like herbalism falling into a capitalist trap and just being a form of consumerism and like selling herbalism. And if I'm going to make my living off of making money from plants, which honestly doesn't feel super comfortable, but in our society that is, you can't bring me, I mean, I guess you could, but people aren't bringing me chickens and cleaning my home and stuff. That is our transfer of goods. I want to offer just as much free as what I take. And so that's why, like, we have YouTube. I just put tons of free information out there to kind of try to make up, and why we save forests and put a lot of the percentage of profit back into preserving forests is to kind of try to offset the capitalist portion of our business.
Well, I think you're succeeding.
Oh, well, thank you.
On every level.
I
You did a
appreciate
great
that.
job.
Yes.
I'm a hot mess most of the time, but why not?
Why
That's
not?
another thing. Ain't anybody perfect. We need to just open up, be a little more wild, get the stick out of our ass and run around with it and play, I don't know. We've gotten so, you need to be this and this and this and this, and like, let your fur shake and get your paws on the ground and run around. And I don't know. We need to get back in touch with our wild, imperfect selves a little more. I think we're all going to be a lot happier for it.
I agree.
Thank you so much, Leah. I miss your face. I'm glad I got to see
Wow.
it today. I'm glad you guys are thriving out there. Love you.
Love you. Thank you
Love
so
y'all.
much.